You wouldn't build a house without a foundation, so why try to build a business without one? Grow your contracting business and grow your mind with Growth Mindset Monday.
All right. Welcome back to Mindset Monday. We're excited to be here with you guys. It's another beautiful week. Can you believe that we're halfway through August already? Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? But here we are. As they say, time waits for no man. First off, I'd like to apologize a little bit. You're going to hear some construction noises in the background. Oddly enough, we just moved into our new place, and I've got some of my guys working on project upstairs. Yeah, I'll share it with you guys. We're getting a floor-to-ceiling fireplace done. It's 18 feet up in the air. It's going to be pretty cool. And of course, my wife wants the hidden wires and the outlets on the side and super cool stuff. Anyway, it's taken them a little bit longer, which is part of our conversation today. It's taken them a little bit longer than we initially anticipated. But if you do hear noises, again, I'm apologizing now. A little drill, maybe some hammer or some other things happening. But in the meantime, here we are. Another week. And what is it that we're doing today, right? What is it that we're doing this week in preparation for the growth that we want to experience? As always, if you're here live, you know what to do. Go ahead and drop your name, your business name, and where you're from so we can give you a shout out. Go ahead and throw that in the comments, and we'll make sure we give you a shout out. Now, I wanted to share what was happening here, but I also want to share what I did this weekend. In most cities, major metropolitan areas in the U.S., the Home Builders Association hosts what's called a parade of homes. You've probably seen it or maybe even participated in it. Now, parade of homes is kind of cool because you buy a ticket and you get to go check out, 20, 30 different homes from builders, around your area. And the cool part is seeing their different design elements, their styles, their approach to how it is that they like to construct things. Last year here in Salt Lake, there was a 10,000 square foot home, I think it was 10 or 12,000 square foot with a 3,500 square foot casita. Now I'll tell you, it was super cool because it was probably the most kick-ass mechanical room I've ever seen. I'm not an electrician. I'm not a plumber. And let's just be real, me and details, we're sometimes friends, sometimes not so much. But I will tell you, walking into that mechanical room, the floor was epoxied. Every wire and pipe and fitting was clean and straight and either 90 degrees. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Took a picture of it, shared it with my friends. It's kind of funny geeking out about a mechanical room, right? We talk about the cleanliness of it. This year, I went to go check out a few different homes. One of them by a builder here locally, City Homes. And they had this beautiful, technically, I guess it's a 4-story home that they built. And as I walked in, it was funny. The builder's like, "Hey, I think I follow you online." I was like, maybe, but super nice guy. We had a conversation for a while and we talked about the house itself. Now the house sits on a hill right up against a mountain. And so they had to do a lot of retaining, actually 2 retaining walls to make sure that the soil wouldn't come down. They've had some flooding issues and with that erosion on some houses in the last couple of years. So they really wanted to make sure that they took care of that. But as we were talking about the beauty of the house, he was talking about some different design elements. I'm telling you, they had a countertop that was shaped the same as this one particular piece of a drop down ceiling. So they kind of mirrored each other. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. They had a basketball court that was actually, I guess, 2 floors down. They had a gym, of course, the theater room in the basement with a couple of bedrooms. I mean, just 360-degree panoramic views. Beautiful, beautiful home. But as we were talking, I was like, hey, man, how long did it take you guys to get this house done? And he looked at me kind of with one of those like, you don't really want to know. I was like, no, really, I want to know. How long did it take you to build this house? He said, it took us over 2 years to build this house. I was like, why did it take so long? Was it your guys? Was it supplies or materials? He said, no, it was the city. The city took 6 to 8 months to approve the permits for the house, which is absolutely insane, right? But it got me thinking. It got me thinking a lot about some conversations that I've been having recently. And these conversations have been with roofers, they've been with remodelers, they've been with electricians, they've been with painters, they've been with landscapers. And the conversations all center around one thing, and that is time, Time, right? The one thing you can't buy, the one thing that you can't stop, you can't slow it down, time. And it's the one thing that we value the most. Now, again, if you're watching live, go ahead and drop your name, your business name, where you're from, so we can give you a shout out. We've got Christina Zacharias with Zacharias Landscaping out of California. Welcome to the show. So talking about time, right? I want you to consider a question, and maybe you've answered it before and maybe you haven't. But how much is an hour of your time worth? Think about that. An hour of your time. Is it worth $50, $100, $500, $1,000? How much is an hour of your time worth, right? Think about that. Now I want you to think about how much of your time that you're wasting. Now, I'm not here to talk about how much time you spend on social media, scrolling through TikTok videos or, watching whatever you do on your phone. I'm here to talk about work. I'm here to talk about your business. I'm here to talk about, more than anything today, is your job site. We got Redeemed Your Homes, Daniel out of Waycross, Georgia, C&K Beachside Remodeling. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. We got Les Chappell with Chappell Pressure Washing out of Conroe, Texas. Welcome, welcome. Now, think about your job site, right? And one of the 2 things that's going to be happening on your jobs right now. Number 1 is you show up and you feel almost like a magician, right? You're like juggling things at the same time, trying to make sure that materials get there, but they have to get there in a timely manner, but they have to get there before you get all your prep work done. But then you don't want it too late because then it's costing your guys time, and you're constantly juggling back and forth, right? ET with Electric, or ET with ET Electric out of Northern Cali. Welcome. And so you're constantly juggling, right? And it seems like, pardon my French, there's no better way to explain it. It seems like a shit show, right? And that's what your job sites are like. And when you're done, it's like you just got done with a CrossFit workout at the gym. You're sweating heavy. You're leaning up against the wall, wondering if you can ever do something like this again. And then you wake up the next day and you do it again, right? It's this over and over and over again. I'm bringing this up because of a couple of different reasons, okay? The first and the most important is an understanding of how much your time is worth, right? And that time has a dollar amount attached to it. And one of 2 things is happening with those dollars. Those dollars going into your pocket, right? And making you a little bit more wealthy, which is great. Or those dollars are either getting burned, they're getting donated to somebody else, you're giving them to your subs, you're giving them to the homeowner, right? You're giving these dollars away. You're not keeping them. Now, you're probably going to say, wait a minute, I actually don't give dollars away. What do you mean? I bid this job for $10,000. I finished the job, and then I made my cut, which was 20%. So I made my $2,000. Yeah, maybe you did. Except for the fact that the job was supposed to take you 3 days, and it took you 6 days instead. And because it took you 6 days, the thing that you didn't take into account was your time and how much your time was worth. And so now you thought you made $2,000, but you actually only made $1,000. And truth be told, if you have employees, you're paying them. If you have overhead, guess what? That's also coming out of there. So you may not even have made any money. Think about that. We got Daniel with Noble Custom Glass and Mirror checking in. Got some windshield time. Appreciate you being on the show today. Think about that for a minute, right? Because you don't know how much a dollar of your time is worth or an hour of your time is worth, then you don't account for it, which means you're working for free. Now, who the hell wants to work for free? Most of us, if not all of us, at some point in our life have been an employee. We work for somebody else. And guess what? We made sure we got paid for every damn dollar we worked or every damn hour we worked, right? Every hour you worked, you wanted to get paid. And you did get paid. Sure, Uncle Sam took his cut. It is what it is. But you got paid, right? Now think about that for a minute. Are you charging for your time? And if you are you actually making money? Because it's super cool to say, hey, look, our business netted, 150,000 last year. Yeah, that's great. But how many hours did you donate so that your business could net that much? Kind of crazy to think about, right? I will tell you the biggest reason that contractors fail. Biggest reason. Number one is always leads, right? They don't know how to bring in more business. That's number one. But closely behind number one is number two. They don't keep any money. Business is not about making money. Business is about keeping money. And if you can't figure out how to keep money, you won't be in business very long. We got Haas with All Good Painting and Maintenance out of Salem, Oregon. Welcome to the show. Think about that, right? So I want you guys all to take a second. Take a second and calculate how much is an hour of your time worth. I've calculated out right now, an hour of my time is worth $500. $500. Now, this helps me with two different things. Number one, it helps me make sure that the activities that I'm engaged in are worth at least $500 an hour. That's the first thing. The second thing is it helps me make sure that I'm not wasting my dollars somewhere that I shouldn't be. I'm spending time doing things that I shouldn't be doing, right? This weekend, I had my social media banner images updated. Super fun thing. Not really. But I was going through and I started to do them myself. Why? Because in my life, I've done a lot of things myself, much like you have. But then I stopped and I realized, wait a minute. How much is an hour of my time worth? $500? Could I or could I not find somebody to make these and post them for $100? Yes. And that's what I went and did. Now, were there some adjustments and changes that needed to be made? Sure. And I took care of those. Right? But if I'm worth $500 an hour, why in the hell would I do a $10 an hour job? If you're worth $250 an hour, why in the hell would you do a $20 an hour job? Does that make sense? Now, maybe you're not there yet where you can remove yourself from everything, and that's okay. But I want to give you a couple different things that you can use to start to make yourself more efficient. Now, Justin with Contractor Plus, if you guys don't know him, he's a pretty cool dude. Obviously, we're hosting it here in conjunction with Contractor Plus, but there's a reason that we're doing this. And there's a reason that I tell all of my clients that they need Contractor Plus. Sure, it's because I like Justin. He's a nice guy, right? By the way, next time you talk to him, tell him to share pictures of his son, Henry. Beautiful boy. It's awesome. But I share this with you and I tell you guys to get Contractor Plus because I know how much your time is worth. And I also know where it is that you're wasting your time right now. You are inefficient with your projects. Your projects take longer than they should, which means they cost more than they should, which means you make less than you should. I want to let that sit for a second. All right. What to do about it? I hate leaving you guys on a cliffhanger, kicking you in the balls a little bit, making you feel like, man, I'm not making as much money as I should. Well, none of us really, right? We're on the road to be more efficient and every day more efficient than we were the day before. But how do we get there, right? How do we get there? I'm going to focus on a couple different areas that you can use to make yourself more efficient and ultimately your business more efficient. Okay. The first thing, plan. I get it. Nobody likes to sit down and plan out what needs to happen. Some of you might be good in that you're planning out your week. That's great. This is when I'm marketing. This is when I'm meeting so-and-so for lunch. Here's my 4 sales appointments for the week. Here's when I got to get the jobs done. Like, you're planning at a high level. That's great. But I want you to start to plan in detail every project. You should know, for example, how long, if you're an electrician, how long it takes you to rough in a room, if it's a remodel, or a painter, how long it takes you to paint a square, right? Or if you're a roofer, how long it takes you to lay down a square. Like, you have to have a good idea so you can make sure that you're bidding in a profitable manner, right? So you should know how long each aspect of your job should take. Prep work, install work, and then cleanup work. How long should it take? There's a roofer I work with in Pennsylvania, and one of the first things that we did was focus on making him more efficient. Now, he's $1 million plus contractor, but he was wasting a ton of his time. He kept asking, why can't I grow? I don't have time. Well, let's look at what you're doing. Well, he was going to the job site and getting his crew prepped for the day, making sure materials were on site, and all the good stuff that they needed. That was great. And then he would leave his dumpster there, or his trailer there, excuse me. And he would come back in the afternoon. He would hook up his trailer, and then he would take his trailer to the dump. Then he would drive it home. 2 hours, every job, every afternoon. Then his guys, and you guys know this if you work job sites, then his guys would do one of two things when they had to use the bathroom: use the neighbor's yard or drive down to the supermarket or the convenience store or the fast food restaurant. Time, right? And cleanliness. So one of the first things that we did is we put one of those porta-johns on every job site. Why? Because it makes him more efficient. His guys don't have to go find a bathroom somewhere. The second thing we did was put a rollaway dumpster on every job site. Why? Because that right there saved him almost 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day, right? What could you do with 2 hours a day? Now, that doesn't even include doing the job itself, right? This is just prep work for the job. Now, I don't care if you're a plumber, a pressure washer, a remodeler, a builder, whatever it is that you do. I want you to start thinking about what you're doing right now on the job site that's costing you time. And I want you to stop thinking about it costing you time, and I want you to start thinking about it costing you money. We started this conversation with, how much is an hour of your time worth? In this particular case, Keith said, hey, an hour of my times were $250. I was like, cool. So every single day that you're playing the dumpster game, that's $500 a day. Would you agree? He's like, yes. Okay. 5 jobs a week, that's 5 hours a week, which is how much? $2,500 times 4. That's $10,000. $10,000. Multiply it over a year, that's $120,000. Think about that for a second. $120,000 wasted hauling away trash. What is it for you? What is that thing that you're wasting your time and ultimately your dollars on your job site? And if you're willing to, I'd love to chat about it. You can go ahead, throw that down in the comments. What is the thing on your job site that you're wasting your time and ultimately your dollars on your job site? Right? Listen, it's scary. And sometimes it's a little bit embarrassing when you start thinking about that, right? That's where your time is going and that's where your dollars are going. But we need to pay attention to it because it's important. If you don't pay attention to it, nothing's going to happen. So the first thing, okay, look at your job site. Where are you wasting time? Right? Where are you wasting time? Are you going to the job site ahead of time figuring out what materials you need, then driving to Home Depot, Lowe's, the supply house, then driving back to the job site, then unloading all the materials. Like, that's time. Is there a supplier that would be willing to deliver those supplies? What if you were smart when you were estimating, you wrote down everything you would need for the job and you were able to get those ordered ahead of time? And even if they couldn't deliver them for you, you could go pick it up, but you don't have to walk through the entire store to find it all. You could just have it on call waiting for you. One of your guys could go, right? Again, how do we save time? So we've got Daniel says driving. That's a hard one, man. That's a hard one. I'd love to say there's an easy one for that, and there's not. But we could start that one. Let's see. Ron says, just starting period trucking and equipment maintenance are eating all of my time along with admin duties. Yep. Now, admin, that's a separate conversation for now. You brought it up, which I agree. But definitely we've got truck and equipment maintenance. Cool. So what does that need to look like? Bro, there's mobile mechanics. What if they came out? How much is that worth? Which, by the way, I just want you guys all to know this. You're like, but that's going to cost me more money. Is it though? Is it? I guarantee all of you guys right now could add 5% to your price and nobody would even care. They wouldn't care. Like, go ahead, test me on it. We literally did this at my last workshop. We had 20 contractors in the room. We challenged them all to raise their price 5%. There wasn't a single one that came back. And this was a month and a half ago. There wasn't a single one that came back and said, well, Mrs. Jones complained because our price was too expensive. No, nobody cares. So if there's an extra quote unquote cost associated with this thing, bringing in a mobile mechanic, hiring a salesperson, whatever, pass it on. Pass it on to the consumer, right? So Daniel says, need a sales rep to get behind the wheel. Yeah, 100%. ET says, training laborers with no experience because I'm a one-guy operation so far. Bro, I don't know what you do. Let me scroll back up here and see if I can figure out what it is you do. You're an electrician. Man, there's a couple different things with this, right? So training, by the way, I know you guys want to bring on your own employees because it feels good to say they're your guys, right? I get it. But some of you, the easiest first step might be just subbing out the work. There's a plumber I work with here locally. He's done, little remodel here, little remodel there, service work here, service work there. He just bid $110,000 plumbing job for a bar. Like, it's a big project. Is he going to be able to do it himself? No, he's not. And he started worrying about, I need to go hire somebody. I said, no, you don't. Sub it out. Find out what somebody's hourly rate is. Bring them in to help you out, period. Now, you may not make quite as much as you want, but if you can start doing that more consistently, now you have the cash flow coming in to start hiring some folks. So for some of you, again, it might be going right to a hire. For some of you, it might be just finding a partner, somebody that does what you do and partnering with them. Again, time. What's more important to you? Mo says, focus on what we are doing. We can save a lot of time. Yep, 100%. Now, I want you to start focusing on these different areas. Okay. So we talk about making the job site itself more efficient. And how do we do that? Think about things you can do ahead of time. Order materials ahead of time. Make sure that you have all your supplies on site ahead of time. Make sure that you have consciously spent time estimating how much time, not just material, but how much time it's going to take to get a project done, right? All these things you can do ahead of time. Now, what else can we do? Number 2, and this is super important. Some of you guys are already doing this. It's technology. It's leveraging technology, right? Contractor Plus. What can Contractor Plus do? I think a better question is what can Contractor Plus not do? I will tell you right now, for 80, maybe even 90% of you, Contractor Plus right now will do everything you need it to do. Keeping track of your leads, building out your estimates, following up with your estimates, proposals, putting your contracts together, offering financing, making sure that you're pricing your jobs right, communicating with your clients, communicating with your subs. I can just keep going and going and going and going, right? You need to start leveraging technology. Now, I'm not going to push all the technology. We don't have time for this. What I'm going to push is Contractor Plus. Yes, I am intimately involved in Contractor Plus, but I'm telling you right now, of all the different CRMs or ability to track leads or communication tools with contractors, I can keep going and going and going. Contractor Plus is by far the best. So if you have a free account right now and you haven't figured out how to use it, figure out how to use it. Like there's training that you can take on how to use it. You want to make yourself more efficient, right? Now, this is partly on the job site, but it really has to do with everything because that's what Contractor Plus does. But on a job site specifically, if you're working with subs, you can manage your communication with subs. If you want to communicate with the client, you can communicate with the client, right? It allows you to be more efficient and more effective. And we've got a couple of folks that are singing the praises of Contractor Plus. A little hiccup there, right? Love Contractor Plus, and I'm a woman owner. Appreciate that, right? Contractor Plus does an amazing thing, right? And again, if you're not using it to its full potential, I get it. It happens, but don't be afraid to be that person that asks the question to get the answer you need. If right now you're still writing down all your information with a paper and pen and a notebook in your truck, come on, man. It's 2024, right? Imagine if all your information was at the touch of your finger in an app on your phone or on your laptop or on your iPad. Like that exists, and it's possible for you to have that, right? Through Contractor Plus. So if you're feeling like you're wasting a lot of time day in and day out or on the job site, you have a tool, a resource available to you, right? That's Contractor Plus. Now, next thing you need to start looking at, resource management. Now, what does resource management mean? People like to throw this term around. Resource management. Well, think about it. What is a resource? A resource is something you consume to get something else, to get something done. On a job site, there's 3 resources. There's money, there's manpower, and balloons, apparently, and people, right? Those are your 3 things: money, manpower, or I guess I said manpower twice. Money, manpower, materials. My bad. Money, woo. We're doing good on a Monday today. Money, manpower, materials. Those are your 3 resources on a job site. How is it that you're managing these 3 things? And as I was mentioning before, you have to manage them ahead of time, right? In other words, money. How do we manage money ahead of time? Well, how many of you guys are asking for a deposit, right? And by the way, if it's not at least 50%, you're doing it wrong. Now, I get if you're working, government jobs or large commercial contracts, it might be a little different. But for most of you, 50% down. Why? Because now instead of taking money from one project to pay for another project, you take the money from a project to pay for that project, right? That's the whole purpose of it. Now, if you play your cards right and you're bidding right, which is a different conversation, but if you're bidding right, then you should take the amount down that covers all of your costs, your material, your manpower, covers everything, so that, heaven forbid, somebody doesn't pay you the rest, or you get stuck in an issue and a problem, whatever, you're not at least out any money. Okay. So number 1 is money. The second one, materials. How many times do you find yourself going back to Home Depot, the supply store, calling somebody to bring you another piece of lumber, another 5 gallons of paint, another conduit line, another this, another that, right? That means you are not estimating properly and you're not getting your materials on site. And that's going to cost you time, and time's going to cost you money. Okay. So we've got material and we've got money. And the last one is manpower. Now, if you're a one-man show or a one-woman show, that's okay. Calculate how much an hour of your time is worth and make sure that you're getting paid that on the job. But if you have multiple people on a job, make sure that you have the right amount of people on the job, that it can be done in the time it needs to be done so that you can make the amount of money that you want to make. Period. Right? My son, who's just turned 18, he just got a job working for a commercial landscaper. And it was hilarious. Last week was his first week. He shows up at home like with the salt crusties over his forehead and on his eyes and his face. like just sweating up a storm. It was over 100 degrees. He's out there 9-10 hours. But it was funny because I was asking him, hey, how many guys are on that crew that you're working with? And he said 4. And I was like, okay, how often are one or two of those folks just standing around watching? He said, never, right? That's an efficient crew. Somebody was in the tractor, 2 people were digging ditches, 1 guy was bringing the material. Like everybody was working together, right? That's an efficient job. But ask yourself, is that your job? Is that the way you run it? Are there always people sitting around waiting? Or are there people that are overworked because there's not enough people, so the jobs are taking you longer than they should take you? Again, if you want to have a successful contracting business, you have to take control of the business. The business is not going to figure it out on its own. Last week on the podcast, I had a guest, Spencer Horn's his name, and he's a leadership expert. He's worked with companies that are 500,000 a year and worked with companies that are 500 million a year. Issues are the same. They all come down to the leader. And so you as the leader need to make a decision. How do I want my business to run? How much money do I want to make? How much is an hour of my time worth? Right? And dialing it back down and saying, what am I doing to be more efficient, which makes me more profitable? Back to Contractor Plus. If you don't know how to use it, reach out, customer service. They will help you make sure that you can figure it out. They will help you be able to use it properly. And I'm telling you now, once you figure Contractor Plus out, you will never look back. It will solve so many of your problems. All right. Well, that's what we got for today. I appreciate you guys and gals being on the show today. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out. We'd love to answer them for you. But remember, in order to be more efficient, in order to be more effective, you need to make sure that you take control of your time. You need to make sure that you take control of your business. All right. That's all we got for you. You know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1. Off you go.